Just to talk about Northparkes, the flow of the discussion this morning is really around automation at Northparkes and what we've got coming up. And before we kick that off, I'll just give you a little bit about our new owners, which is CMOC. So CMOC, certainly innovative leader in natural resources management is what they want to be, and certainly their vision become the respected international resources company. They are a Chinese-based group and they've been 80% owner of Northparkes since 2013 after Northparkes was divested by Rio Tinto. And our other JV partner is Sumitomo, who has been there since inception in 1993. So just on the background of CMOC, engages in non-ferrous metal mining, mainly in the sector, smelting and deep processing of copper, molybdenum, tungsten, cobalt, niobium and phosphates. So a very diverse group there. It is set out across 3 international operations and a Chinese operation. Relatively integrated industrial chain. CMOC is globally one of the top 5 molybdenum manufacturers, largest tungsten manufacturer, second largest cobalt and niobium manufacturer, and leading copper manufacturer, as well as second largest phosphate manufacturer in Brazil. So again, setting a diverse group of commodities. Listed on 2 stock exchanges, both the Hong Kong and the Shanghai Stock Exchange. So that's a little bit about CMOC. Northparkes. So Northparkes is really, as I said, kicked off in '93. We are the 4th largest producer of copper, and we are the world's most automated underground mine. Now, automation for us has been a journey, and I'll get onto that a little bit later, and we'll talk about that. But our vision is a century of mining together, and a century of mining together really does talk about taking Northparkes into that future, and I'll talk a little bit about what we've got coming up. Our vision certainly allows us to be thinking about the longer term and setting the business up for the longer term, and how we do our exploration and what we have in chain and coming up certainly says that the future of Northparkes is strong. Our values are listed there, so 0 harm, 1 team, life balance and improvement, not too different to most of the other businesses in the mining sector. But certainly for us, everything is built off 0 harm. That's our foundation. Just looking at the ore bodies at Northparkes, you can see there, so we have E26 and E48 are the 2 major ore bodies in the underground space. E26 was the first block cave in Australia, E26 Lift 1. It was commenced mining in '96 and through to 2003. We then moved into E26 Lift 2 and Lift 2 North, which was an extension of Lift 2. That proceeded from 2002 to 2010. And E48, which is the other major ore body, that block cave come online in 2010, is currently still being mined at the moment. So it's got a life for another 8 years before it's completed. We did commence a sub-level cave in 2016. That sub-level cave was purely looking at a high-grade pocket that was left when Lift 2 propagated up towards Lift 1, and it pinched in at the top. So we had about 5 million tonnes of high-grade material, and we could be more selective with a sub-level cave. So that is still in production. We've done 4 levels and we're planning another 2 levels of that sub-level cave. And a new mine, which is E26 Lift 1 North. It's currently under construction, and that will be due for production to come online in 2022. So that operation means that from the underground and the 2 ore bodies will run E26 Lift 1 North and E48 together, producing. Just to look at the bigger picture of Northparkes, and when you put a 0.4 grade shell around some of these ore bodies, so Northparkes has around, between 450 and 500 million tonnes of low-grade material in the ground. As we move into the future, and we certainly use technology potentially in the ore sorting space, could open up these opportunities for these grade shells around these ore bodies and significant volumes. So you can see there we have E22 out to the north, then you come back to E48, GRP, and then E26 as you go across the page there. And those large masses there can continue at depth. We have a lift 3 and a lift 2 for E48 and a lift 3 for E26. So we haven't defined where it goes. Maybe it hooks up and links up to a major ore body at depth, but that's just what we know down to around just over 1,200 metres. Our operation, so when you think about Northparkes, we're a full value chain operation. Exploration is really important. We've run an exploration fleet of drills, both underground and on surface. Currently drilling for the next major ore body to replace E48 and 26 Lift 1 North. We do have some good indications at the moment, potentially to the east of 26. So those opportunities will be examined in further detail over the next 12 to 18 months. But if that comes to be what we think it'll be, we can safely say that we've got a very strong future. In the mining space, mining both underground and open cut in the past, but we are looking at potential open cuts in the future as well. So the underground space for us is our main supply of ore. Processing is currently at 6.5 million tonnes. We will be increasing that to 7.6 million tonnes in the next 12 months, and that'll bring us, with that expansion, ramping it up, in line with the mine's throughput, both underground and surface. So feed into the ore processing plant, and we complete the full cycle. Our product is sold and transported into Port Kembla and sold into the world market export, with all of our concentrate going out to China and Japan. So all of the copper we produce goes into the export market. Our product, our copper concentrate, is a high-grade concentrate and very saleable. We just need more of it, like everyone else. So automation really is, I suppose, one of the success stories of Northparkes. We haven't just been in the game for a short period of time either. This is a journey we've been on, as it states up there, since 1998, and we kicked off what we believed was the direction we wanted to take our business with regards to removing people from the loaders and having automated load haul dump machines in our extraction level. In 1998, we were part of the Amira project, which was a CSIRO and a group of companies come together, and we ran that for a while. There were some learnings about that. We actually had a machine running and operating. Some of the controls were, in compared to today's technology, were very basic. And we ran the machine, and we had a bloke sit in that machine with plenty of padding on, and just in case. So he was the backup, but we were able to operate that machine and test it. Then 2001, we basically headed down the path there of setting up a quadrant, which is part of the extraction level, that could run and operate in automation. And we were tipping into an ore pass, taking the material from the bottom and feeding a crusher. And we were able to operate that under automation. So that was a significant step for us. It showed that the journey was worth the effort, and we need to continue on that. During the early 2000s, the Amira project wrapped up, and we started working with a company called DAS, and DAS was later bought out by Caterpillar, and that became the backbone of Caterpillar's early automation system. But at Northparkes, we worked in partnership with DAS, so the third party with our Sandvik machines operating automation. we had that system go through to an equivalency of manual operation production. So we were able to demonstrate the potential of automation as a production unit. With the changeover and Caterpillar buying out DAS, we then repositioned ourselves, and at this time Sandvik was in a position where they did want to move into this market. So we then partnershiped with Sandvik, and as we were building E48 block cave, this was very timely for us to be able to set up an extraction level under automation. So we did that with Sandvik. We've seen some great outcomes. I suppose in any partnership you go through learning about your partner, but also we had some very good people driving our position of where Northparkes wanted to have automation for the loader fleet, and working hard to make sure we had the best automation system that was compliant and did work to SIL 2 ratings and certainly cover off on all of the safety aspects that we wanted from this operating system. With the Sandvik units, we then went through a phase of development, taking it through to full production. So the automation system that we have running at Northparkes for our machines is basically a system that takes the loader under automation from the draw point to the ROM bin and returns to the draw point. So we are still operating the loader with an operator to load the bucket at the draw point. We have been working extensively with Sandvik around this as a solution for autonomous loading, and while we can load the bucket successfully and repeat that action of loading the bucket, we've been working around navigation, so the navigation into and out of a draw point. So in a block cave you will see convergence, you'll see change conditions, and you have to be able to have the system that's smart enough that can work inside those changes as well. So since we've gone into full automation of the Sandvik fleet since the end of 2015, we have moved 23.2 million tonnes in the 4 years that we've been under automation. So our production is, from the block cave, full automation production. And that's been proven. We've had plenty of people come through the business, look at how the operation works and what the system does and how it can be adapted both into other block caves, sub-level caves and other underground mines. Around the fleet and our decision around LHD automation, so people that were passionate about automation wanted to make sure this was successful. We're all part of the team. And I'll just call out a person who really did drive some of the work that we've done under the current system with Sandvik, was Joe Cronin. And he was supported by Matt Allen and those two in the project certainly drove the outcome we have today. So you do need those sort of people who can drive the direction of how you want to take the business in some of the automation or the technology space. We did see the increased and that drive for increased operator safety. That was without doubt one of our biggest drivers. So dust, noise, vibration, the health of the individual driving the machine really did need to be managed. The increased efficiencies around production of our operation, I'll be able to show you a slide shortly that shows that. And we did benefit both from production and reduced maintenance out of those changes and with automation in place. We did look to want to shift our operating position for cost and make sure that we were cost effective around an automated loader fleet. We weren't doing it just for the love of it, we did want benefit. And we wanted a long-term solution for value. As we go and we talked around the lower grades, we do need to have operating systems that are repeatable, cost effective, and then make us viable to operate at lower grades. So that is what the benefit is for Northparkes. When we looked at our current automation system, so a lot of discussion around whether we'd get to a positive position around automation. What we can demonstrate that we have normalised production. So what we see is the equivalent of manual output from the automation system. That's in that first bar at the top. So just slightly over that with 101% against a manual operation, so basically like for like. So production-wise, you're not disadvantaged by automation. From a production of the autos themselves, what we've seen from a tonnage point of view, we've seen that increase by 23%. And the reason we can get the higher production is because the machine doesn't have to stop for the changeover of shifts. It doesn't have to stop if we are blasting in the area. So the system will operate because there's no people needed to operate the machine. So once you remove people, you change the dynamics of how you can operate your level, how you can actually set your systems up. So that gave us a 23% increase around our tonnage per LHD, and also then our cost. So we've seen a reduction there of 24%, and that 24% was driven by the automation system. So not having an operator sitting in a cab, running that machine flat out, and certainly hitting the wall, striking, potholes. You can set the route up on the machine. It'll travel in that route without fail. It'll operate to the parameters you set. It won't over-rev. It won't have issues around excessive speeds in gears or those, I suppose, operations issues that you can get from different operators. So it takes out all that variability. So the consistency of operating that machine under a system drove that 24% cost reduction around maintenance predominantly. So those are the big tickets that we've been able to demonstrate through automation at Northparkes. Around the change management. So as it says there, significant change must have a process, and certainly the process that we used at Northparkes was set around that long-term vision. So we've been on this journey 19 years, and certainly one of the key issues and learnings for us is that you've got, in technology, you've got to stay the course. If you've got the belief and you've got that vision and you want to be able to deliver it, it does take effort. It takes a lot of continual pushing, as you'll get a lot of pushback. So, we went through a lot of hiccups, a lot of I suppose, positions where the business was changing that we could have easily stepped away from automation and stayed in manual operation. But Northparkes didn't want to do that. We wanted to stay the course and deliver what we thought was the best outcome, and we were able to show that and deliver that in the end. The prize has got to be known. So you have to know what you're really going after when you go down a technology base. And you have to be able to, along that way, partner with the right group as well. It's really important about that. Risk assessments, actions checked and closed out. It's very critical, and we said that we were able to deliver a safe system that we were comfortable was compliant. We went through a lot of process checks, a lot of risk assessments, and a lot of design, I suppose, evaluations to make sure that there was no way the machine would be out of control. And if it was out of control, and that did happen, it wouldn't be impacting people. So those compliance and checks and risk assessments are critical, along with then the system checks and knowing the system, and certainly that's where the partner you're working with and the technology you're using does have to have that robust system. Testing and the staged approach. So we didn't go straight to automation. We went through a whole stage of testing to make sure that the whole system was going to stand up as we developed it. Full execution and integration across the block cave footprint. So the way we actually did the staged approach, the E48 ore body is split up into basically 4 zones, and we're able to look at zone by zone integration, and we're able to do that in a controlled manner. So that gradual approach confidence, grow confidence, and be able to use the system significantly in a productive way and produce and deliver those tonnes in a staged approach to a full footprint coverage. So that coverage then was completed in 2015, as we said. And I suppose one of the key aspects and learnings that we took away from this process is that we were very strong in our communication that we were never going to see people replaced. So we had a lot of pushback from teams. We had a lot of discussion with different teams around how will my job be safe? How will I be impacted? What's the outcome going to be? So we didn't see any change in our team numbers, but we did see reskilling into some different roles required for the technology. So I think that's a really strong message, because if people feel that they're at risk, you're in a high position of sabotage, or, I suppose if they don't have confidence, then confidence of the system, the little things will be exploited. So I think if you are going down a technology base, you need to be having very detailed conversations with your workforce around, if there is an impact, what does it look like? And if it's positive, sell the positive. If it's negative, just make it real so that people understand it. So we went through all of this, and I think that was one of the real success stories. We actually created a culture of automation, not just another system. So it was integrated. When we talk about the automation system itself, that system maturity, I spoke about this when we talk about partnerships. So when you look at the different systems, so this system was developed with us and Sandvik, but that was a choice we made. But we knew Sandvik were ready for this, and they were a mature OEM who wanted to go on the journey. So they made that commitment. So when you look at other systems or systems currently on the market, what's around, it's important to see that you do have maturity in that system, so proven. Or if you're going to be the first to do it, you do need that strength and determination for the vision to deliver the outcome. Look at the number of sites where it's in use. And as I said, we've had plenty of visitors come to Northparkes, both through Sandvik and through ourselves, to look at the operation of the automation of our loaders. And I think we're very happy and able to tell the story, and we want to tell the story because everyone benefits. So why have a group or another business take 5 or 6 years to develop this, as we did with the Sandvik model, when you can just come and look at it, make an evaluation and see if it fits your business. Availability of staff with the depth of experience in the system, both for the OEM and for the operations team, are critical, making sure you've got that skill set there to support it. The redundancies, and certainly any additional capacities you need. So making sure that you've got full coverage across the system and the people and the equipment. It's important. Diagnostic tools to be able to evaluate when something doesn't happen the way it's supposed to happen. To be able to look at files, go through a detailed review and make sure that you understand what has happened and what you need to do after that to prevent it happening again. And, we've had hiccups. We've had, machines move when they shouldn't have moved. And generally what we've found is around the operator and the switching from the loading of the bucket into operating the automation system and the machine running in the automation system from the draw point to the ROM bin and back. Support and capacity of the OEM, so coverage, skill and additional parts, so that strength and reliability has to be built in. What you want to see is the machine running at its highest level of availability for you, so you get that reliability. Under automation, you don't have to worry about a person being there to operate it. Once it's running, and you want it running. The documentation, this is quite critical in compliance, making sure that you've been through a fully detailed review and you can put all of the information on the table to demonstrate through the documentation that it is a system that'll work, a system that is compliant, and a system that you're confident will not impact people and not impact that machine. And with the compliance and the standards, the regulator plays an important part, and it doesn't matter what technology we're discussing, we always, and looking at Northparkes, we're always involving the regulator as part of that discussion. So automation has then been able to assist us in other ways, not just production. So currently at Northparkes, we've got an exhaust shaft and an intake shaft that was being raised bored. They've finished raised boring now, but we had quite a few issues around the raised boring. We had a 195 notice placed on us, which then meant that we had to think about a solution, and we were able to adapt our automation solution, which was an Auto Mine Lite, to be able to safely manage the bottom of these shafts. So we were able to operate in a way that removed people from these shafts, removed people from the hazards, and certainly allowed us to meet that 195 prohibition notice. And in doing that, you know, one of the good things was that the notice was given to us, because while you're in that space where you're either or, you can play the game in different ways. If you haven't got the either or solution, you must have it one way, and that was removing people from direct line of fire and impact, then that's what you have to do. So you then go through that problem solving and adaptation of technology into that. So that was a good outcome for us. And just on future innovation, so a couple of things that are happening at Northparkes, moving off automation and onto other areas. We're working with Orica around the WebGen. Now the WebGen is wireless technology for blasting, and this is something that we're using in production on our sub-level cave to remove people from the brows. We're adapting WebGen with pre-charging to be able to have the second ring back as the operating ring away from the brow. So that's been very successful for us. But the big prize for us is around being able to have a high lift drawbell on a block cave. So this will mean in time we can remove an undercut, so which is a lot of time and cost as far as the production or a block cave coming into production. So we will be looking to fire a high lift trial at Northparkes and basically make sure that adaptation of this technology gives us the benefits that we want. We've been working with LDO on some dust reduction in our return airways and solutions around that. So we'll be having a machine at Northparkes next year that will allow us to work to reduce the dust in our return airways and make it safer for our people. And I suppose our position on battery is we're just watching. We're waiting to see what the market and the OEMs come up with. We don't think there's a solution there today for us at Northparkes, but I'm sure there'll be there one in the future. So we don't want to lead the way on this, but we're happy to watch and follow. And I suppose any technology, you're always looking at the application. So where you can apply it both in your business and what that technology is. There's a lot of technology that's getting more and more. You're faced with, plenty of conversations every day around technology, but how you apply it and how you turn it into a benefit for your business is really what you want. And as they say here, innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity. Simple as that. It's not a threat. So thank you.